Hello friends, Techman Pat, hope you are well. I want to look back at the last decade and bring you 5 tech things that I saw as the biggest failures of the last 10 years. Now, it's not that I just see them as failures. I actually imagine a lot of people would see them as failures. And I think some of the things we want to take from these is to kind of learn that not every great idea that people pump a lot of money into lasts or becomes a fantastic commercial product. So let's start with number 1, the Gebo. It was a crowdfunding success when it was created. It launched on Indiegogo back in 2014, raising $3.6 million from backers. It took nearly 3 years for the company to finally get the boot in the hands of its supporters. By that time, smart speakers like Amazon's Alexa, Google Home were already on the market, and Gebo fell quickly behind in its attracting third-party support, actual buyers, and it sold off its intellectual property to investment management group SQ and venture partners. Now, the problem with Gebo is that it's terrible. It has a terrible front camera, it has a little crappy screen, it's not even OLED to make sure that it looks different from the circle. No, the circle isn't the screen, it's just a square, as you can see. So it's a bit problematic as a product. It didn't function very well, and it was ridiculously expensive, starting off at $899 USD. That's right, my friends, USD, 900 American dollars, which is what, like 1,100 Australian dollars? It's crazy! And it didn't really do anything very well, but you know what? It moved really cutely and it looked kind of cool. Anyway, the biggest failure of 2014 and 15, because to be honest, first of all, it didn't sell very well, and the backer money, well, I'm not sure where that went, if it actually went into producing this product. In any case, let's move on to number 2, the Juicero. You might have heard of this one. It's a Silicon Valley juicer startup that raised $120 million from investors and was widely ridiculed after the $400 machine that they sold to juice the juice from these packets were revealed to be the equivalent of 2 hands squeezing a juice box. That's right, the $400 machine was just 2 hands squeezing a juice box. Well, it looked nice, I suppose. It looked cool. So the Juicero offered up pre-sold pack of diced fruit and vegetables that users plugged into this $400 machine, which then transformed the contents into juice. So it's kind of like cold press. The company was roundly mocked in April when Bloomberg News reported that users could easily squeeze the packets with their hands and turn the contents into juice at a faster rate than the expensive cold press juice machine. It all fell apart. A lot of people bought the machine, didn't use it, and to be honest, it was just a huge waste of time because, like I said, the packets, you could use them yourself with your hands. Let me know in the comments below if anybody in Australia actually ended up buying that, because I'm pretty sure it wasn't available here. Number 3, 3D TVs. Now, I saw this as a failure from very early on. It was just a silly attempt. The screens are too small. You've got a 3D TV in front of you, much too small to sit at the couch and enjoy 3D content. That's crazy. I mean, I can understand it in the cinemas. It's a big screen. It's quite effective. But interestingly enough, Australia's commercial and pay television broadcasters made attempts to trial 3D television broadcasts during 2010 and 2012. The trials were claimed to be the first free-to-air terrestrial 3D TV broadcast anywhere in the world and included the NRL's State of Origin games. Now, I'm not sure if you remember that, but I don't, and I was here and I never saw the State of Origin in 3D, and yeah, it just fell away. Even the industry tried to adopt it and they couldn't. Now, the sales of 3D TVs has always been a little bit overly dramatic. They were advertising it in shops, or 3D this, 3D that. But shoppers were not interested in 3Ds, and that's a pretty big fact, because when the ACMA did a report of what people wanted to on what basis people were buying TVs, 78% of them said picture and quality, and 16% said that 3D was a reason they would even buy a new TV. So that's a pretty low percentage of people who were even looking at a new TV. So that fell away pretty quickly. Like, when's the last time you saw a 3D TV at JB's or Good Guys? I haven't, not for a long time, and I didn't even own one. Oh wait, did I? Yes, I owned one. I never used the 3D functionality. Number 4 is Google Glasses. Now, this is just another product in a lineup of products that Google comes out in and then kills it off and then it disappears. We've got a lot of them. I'm betting that Stadia is the next one to be killed off, because honestly, it's not doing very well. Now, with an operating system as Google and a price tag of $1,500 American dollars, The Google Glass was easily one of the most anticipated of all the biggest tech failures, and yes, it did end up failing. It does sound like a good idea, because it was eyewear that had the ability to be basically a digital device. A lot of movies really portrayed it as something interesting. Now, eyewear just didn't take off. Obviously, watches did, and what may have been thought of as amongst some of the most interesting tech that you couldn't even leave home without, the Google Glass turned out becoming the exact opposite, mainly due to the fact that the device could take films practically anywhere. Most people were freaked out by the tech, which led to its banning in a variety of places like bars, movie theaters, restaurants. Apart from that, it also turned out to have a terrible battery life, unsuitable interface, and just looked plain stupid. At least it still has its uses in the business industry, but very slim. Apparently people do use it for some sort of scanny thingy when they walk around and maybe they're inspecting things. But it's a great idea, but just look at that example. Nobody's gonna wear something that doesn't actually look good, and that is why I give a thumbs up to Apple's wearing devices, their watch, because man, it actually looks pretty good. All right, friends, number 5. This is the last one. This is the one I really wanted to talk about because it is the biggest failure of the last 10 years, in my opinion, because it comes from a company that looks infallible in everything they do. Everything they do, they succeed, except, well, no, they failed a lot of times, but this is one of the biggest failures. This is one of those things where they just did all the wrong things. And I'm talking about the Air Power Pad from Apple. The wireless charging pad that was supposed to charge everything from your watch to your AirPods to your phone to maybe a wireless mouse, which they still haven't made a wireless charging mouse, which I still think is like the next thing they need to do, because plugging it at the bottom, I mean, look at this crappy design. This is a failure, but people still use it. You plug it in there, and then what? How do you use the mouse? In any case, the wireless air power charging pad never came to be. However, they did advertise and talk about it that it's going to happen. They failed miserably, mainly about the fact that those rings underneath the coils to actually charge your devices couldn't be stacked up on top of each other because of heat. The heat issue was the biggest problem. They wanted to make it really thin, really nice, really stylish, but it just couldn't work with the amount of coils and rings in there, creating all that heat, and trying to actually create a pad where anywhere on it you could put that device, that charging device, and actually have it charge. That was probably one of the hardest things because a ring had an effective area and you had to stack it on top at different angles to try and get everything. So when you just chuck it on top, it would charge. Now, a lot of companies have done other charging pads where you just have an individual pad for each item you have. I think that's fine. I think it looks quite cool when you hang it up on all these items. But at the end of the day, having something that you just chuck it on this plate, and it could be a pretty large or small plate, whatever it might be, and you don't have to worry about charging it, I think that is kind of the future, the ideal thing. But unfortunately, Apple, too early, they failed, and that is one of the biggest failures of the 2010s. Friends, thank you very much for watching. I really wanted to put this short video together, just been on holiday, making a lot of videos, and this is just one of the things that popped in my head, and I wanted to share with you what I think were the biggest failures. And some of the stuff we didn't really see in Australia, not that, you know, Apple would have released it not in Australia, but Apple still hasn't released their ECG scanning thing for the Watch 4s, so I'm not surprised. In any case, friends, thank you very much for watching. If you like this video, tap that like button. If you want to see more content like this, then consider subscribing. I would really appreciate it, and I'll chat to you guys in the comments below.